order to win at a group discussion, it's important to understand that there are 5 important roles that you can play. Number 1 is an initiator, somebody who initiates the group discussion. Number 2 is a strong supporter who generally speaks in favor of the topic. Number 3, strong opposer who has a contrarian view against the topic. Number 4, harmonizer, someone who would probably take a balanced view from both sides and try to take a middle path because he or she is trying to chalk a new solution in the situation. And number 5, a summarizer, someone who will typically speak at the end and try to summarize or wrap up the group discussion. Now, let us take a topic which is very popular in various organizations and MBA institutions when it comes to group discussions. And the topic for today is Bollywood a blessing or a bane? Is it something which is a curse or a boon when it comes to India? Now, in this topic, suppose you have to initiate, then take a role which is neutral. An initiator always tries to introduce the topic. An example could be as follows. My respected colleagues, I welcome you all to this group discussion being organized by Google, and the topic which has been given to us is Bollywood a curse or a blessing for India? Now, we have very limited time, total 15 minutes have been given, and it is a compulsory consensus, otherwise the entire group will get rejected. Therefore, may I propose that this topic of Bollywood, which is really very relevant in India's socio-economic and political context today, should be discussed in a very dispassionate manner, and we can evaluate on 3 criteria. Economic implications of Bollywood. Number 2, social implications of Bollywood. And number 3, global reach of India. So if all of you agree, we can discuss these 3 criteria to evaluate, is Bollywood a blessing or a curse? Now, this is how an initiator introduced the topic to everyone without being biased, without saying that he or she is for or against. So if you are an initiator, be neutral and introduce the topic to everyone. The second criteria is a strong supporter. Now, let us take the example where you are strongly feeling that Bollywood is very good for India. Now, what are the points which you can quickly think of in favor of Bollywood? And very quickly, we could talk about entertainment, education, economy, employment, and global appeal. So we have quickly listed out many points in favor of Bollywood. The trick now is to convert these points into paragraphs where you could speak for about 30 seconds. So let us assume a scenario where your colleague has just introduced the topic and you want to be the second speaker, supporting in favor of Bollywood. So how would you go about it? Thank you, my friend, for introducing the topic. I sincerely believe that Bollywood is a big blessing for our country, and there are various reasons. So I feel that the biggest benefit of Bollywood is entertainment. In a society where we have a lot of stress, lot of pressure, there is no greater and inexpensive entertainment source as compared to Bollywood. Movies which are based on comedies or actions or even thrillers add a vicarious pleasure and give us a lot of happiness. I would also like to say that Bollywood is a great source of education. There are various inspirational movies like Chak De, where SRK played a great role, or Lagan, where Amir Khan was the great patriot who won the game. And these educative movies help us develop a richer perspective. I would also like to say that Bollywood is a very big boon for our economy because overall, I think the industry produces about 20,000 crore rupees of revenue every year, and that really bolsters India's overall economic progress. So I sincerely believe that Bollywood is a big plus. Now, what did you do over here? Quickly, in about 40 seconds, you spoke about Bollywood being a blessing in terms of entertainment, education, and economy. Now, let us take another example of a third speaker who wants to oppose you. Once again, we need to quickly think of points against Bollywood. And as we think about it, there are various points, but the first one could be the nexus with underworld. Second could be a cash-driven economy with a lot of black money in it. Number three, nepotism, especially the economic disparity where the rich keep getting richer and the poor struggle to make it happen. Fourth, instigates violence and crimes by introducing techniques. And fifth, damages the psyche of a child by making the young and vulnerable exposed to various crimes and evil practices. So, how does a opposer frame the argument? Now remember, in a discussion, try to always be very respectful and polite. So here, let's go. My worthy colleague, I really believe that you have put forward some interesting points. However, I wish to really humbly submit my views which are slightly divergent from yours. There are three important reasons why I think Bollywood is a big curse for our country. And number one, the bulk of money, although it's not legally proven, is speculated to be coming from the underworld. And when that happens, you are doing something which is actually in some sense anti-national. And accordingly, there is a lot of cash money, a lot of black market on which Bollywood thrives. And therefore, all of this is really deleterious for our economy. The second thing is not just nepotism, but the economic disparity. You have the big cons, the big actors who are becoming richer and richer, where an average man cannot even survive in Bollywood. And third, and the most negative thing against Bollywood is that it really gives wrong education to those who are in the vulnerable strata. Young kids, youth which is impressionable. Movies like Kabir Singh or various movies which are about drug or crime can only instigate them to the wrong direction. So I sincerely believe that it's very vital to curtail Bollywood and make sure we have stronger censorship. Now, this time you gave a view which was against, but you also gave a solution that there should be greater censorship. Now here comes a fourth person who's an harmonizer. Now harmonizer is a very smart strategy because you have heard the views of the supporter, the opposer, and now you want to give the mid path with the solution. So how does a harmonizer speak? So let's go. My dear friend, Mr. Amit, Mr. Mohan, I think both of you have put forward some wonderful points. And however, I sincerely believe that when we look at Bollywood, it's probably a mixed bag. There are some wonderful contributions which are happening to the economy, education, entertainment. There is no gainsaying the fact. And also, it really brings great global appeal for India because it's making India popular in countries across the world. Indian movies, songs, they spread the message of friendship and of course make India a more prosperous country. However, it is also true that some kind of explicit language, explicit scenes, and some very sensitive topics should also be curtailed in a better manner. So may I propose that we should do three actions. Number one, we must encourage stronger censorship, very unbiased and fair, so that we can control what content is being viewed by whom. Number two, we must also tell Bollywood and sort of encourage practices by which Bollywood is corporatized, so that black money and the underworld nexus can be eliminated. So big movie makers like Disney or PVR or various other producers should be encouraged to work in a corporatized manner. And number three, which I think is most important, is that Bollywood must really encourage equal opportunity. I think the fact that only the rich get the big riches and the poor or the mediocre actor doesn't get much is a very sorry state of affairs. So there must be more fairer share of revenues, which can happen if there could be a formula in corporate taxation structure whereby the total revenues could be shared among a larger base. So I feel instead of criticizing the entire Bollywood, let us accept and welcome its good points, but at the same time, let's caution and ask for a change by which we can curtail or eradicate its minus points. So these are my thoughts, and I hope, although the group is very divided, we could eventually come to a consensus. That was the harmonizer. Now let's assume the GD went for about 15 minutes and there was no consensus. And you hadn't spoken much. And the jury comes to you and says, why don't you summarize the topic? There comes the fifth role, which is the summarizer. Now please remember, a summarizer is not expected to talk only about his or her opinion, but instead is expected to present a neutral summary of what transpired, what was discussed. So one example of summarizer goes as follows. My dear friends, thank you so much for allowing me to be the summarizer over here. So I believe we had a very vivacious and very creative group discussion where everybody came up with very interesting ideas. Unfortunately, the group was very widely divided. There were some who really felt that Bollywood is a blessing, but others who felt that Bollywood is a curse. So those who were in favor of Bollywood spoke about the fact that Bollywood provides entertainment, education, and helps the economy, and it also helps the global appeal. Those who were opposing strongly spoke about the impact on the vulnerable segment, especially children and the youth. Some promotion of unfortunately evil practices, things like drugs or some crime being glorified, and finally the nexus with underworld and various criminal activities related to the black market. However, there were some colleagues who had forward-looking solution related to the actions which could be done, and the group generally felt that Bollywood is a mixed bag, and therefore as a country we must keep working to let Bollywood self-transform by focusing on three things. Number one, more strict content censorship. Number two, inculcating corporate practices. And number three, ensuring that there is fairer divide of the income. So I think this is how I like to summarize the group discussion. Thank you. So that ends this YouTube. If you have liked this video, please click the like button and also subscribe to our channel, because we come up every week with various techniques to improve your public speaking skills, English skills, and help you acquire skills to succeed at placements, interviews, and in leadership forums in your corporate journey. This is Gagan Singh signing off for the day.